never seen the President of the United States look at the lines.
You join our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And I will never, ever stop. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
We will make America great again.
This time, it's for real.
Now to the race for the White House, and after decades of very publicly flirting with the idea, billionaire Donald Trump says he really is running for president this time around.
Donald Trump is running for president.
Well, I'll never forget the moment my father came down the escalator. In fact, even before he came down the escalator, we rode the Trump Tower elevator down what we call the 3-car. And he goes, you know what, kids, here we go. Let's have at it. Let's do this.
I remember very vividly going up to the 26th floor to my father-in-law's office, and there in the office, when you walk in, there are a bunch of TVs on the 26th floor, and they were all on different news outlets. And every single one had a different idea as to what was about to happen. One of them said, oh, Donald Trump is going to come down the escalator. He's going to say that he's announcing a new season of The Apprentice. The other one said this is just a publicity stunt. We know how Donald Trump loves publicity. Any press is good press. That's what this is about. He's going to announce he's running for president, and then a day later, he's going to drop out of the race. This has nothing to do with him really wanting to become the president. There they came down the golden escalator, as everybody remembers.
You know, just thinking to myself, this is a moment. This is historic.
June 16th, 2015. I happen to know it because it was my daughter's first birthday, little Chloe. And we're in the elevator going down, and he just looks at me and says, now we find out who our real friends are. And man, it was one of those things you sort of brushed off at the time, but now 4 years later, you realize just how profound a statement it was. With everything they've tried to do to him, to the family, to me.
I mean, when I look back, I sort of wish that I would have taken more photos and been more in the moment, because I don't think any of us appreciated it for what a monumental situation it was.
So once he decided to go all in, I knew it was going to happen. And I've been telling people that from day one. I mean, this guy, or the president, actually, I should say the president, is there was no option. It was win. It was win. That's all he knows how to do.
We need somebody that literally will take this country and make it great again.
Saying, listen, guys, we're in this as a family, and we're gonna give this everything we have, and we did as a family.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
We did what we do, and we went all in.
And we are going to make our country great again.
Well, initially it was a very small team. So, as a matter of fact, it was so small that the entire campaign staff would travel with Mr. Trump on his airplane, which was 4 of us at the time. It was Hope Hicks, Corey Lewandowski, myself, and Dan Scavino.
Very small team at the campaign. And we wanted to originally have Mr. Trump come down on June 14th, which was his birthday. However, June 14th of that year fell on a Sunday, and we knew we couldn't do it that day, so we waited till June 16th. And me and Georgia Gikos and a very small group of people stayed up all night long to physically build the stage, the 3-tier riser that the media would shoot from. And just before the 11 o'clock hour on June the 16th, I went up to the 26th floor of Trump Tower, and in Mr. Trump's office was just he and Melania Trump. And I turned to him and I said, "Sir, it's time to go." And he stepped away from his desk and he went in, he checked his hair in the mirror, And Melania turned to him and she said, "If you run, you will win. You always win." And Mr. Trump then stepped out of his office, and there were these black, large onyx mirrors right outside his office. He looked into that mirror, adjusted his tie, let out a deep breath, and he said, "Let's go."
One of the great political entrances that's been done in presidential campaigns throughout history.
I immediately took to the airwaves in defense. I said, "That's it, it's over. Donald Trump's the next president of the United States."
It was a no-brainer that he was going to be the president the day he announced.
In 2015, I was sitting in my house, I had a laptop up, and I got an email from Amanda Miller. It was February 21st, 9:16 p.m., and the email said, "Donald Trump's thinking about running for president. Would you like to help?" I replied back, "Yes." And that's how it all got started.
He wanted to give it a shot and do it his way. Run a campaign based on his ideas and his vision on what would make America great again.
Our country needs a truly great leader. And we need a truly great leader now.
Certain family members were starting to get involved. I could see that Eric, he kept, kind of contacting me these things. And then Ivanka started getting involved. Then Don Jr. and then Jared Kushner. And then when Jared Kushner got involved, things dramatically started to change for my role in the campaign. Jared and me got on the phone, and I was now hired as the marketing director as well as the kind of digital director at that time. While they were all kind of flying around the rallies, I was building a data machine behind the whole thing.
Oh, well, first rally.
The campaign trail was unbelievable. It was wild, it was crazy.
Unlike the massive crowd at the Trump rally, only 600 people showed up for Hillary Clinton's rally.
It was the summertime of 2015, and by the time the plane landed, I had like 17 voicemails. So I listened to the first message, and it was a police officer from the town of Laconia, and they said, "We have a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" They said, "We have so many people at this VFW hall, this Veterans of Foreign Wars hall that Donald Trump is coming to. We had to stop the traffic. We have a 3-mile backup. We can't get you into the facility."
We rented the American Airlines Arena in Dallas, which is a very large arena. 18,000 people, I think. We had no Secret Service. We really had no process to speak of other than rent the room, build a stage, and send an email to whatever list we had that he was coming. And I can remember very clearly arriving at the venue, and there were thousands of people outside, and we went inside, and the arena was totally full to the rafters.
I was the one putting up the rallies, building the system so they could do rallies, collecting phone numbers. During that period of time, we revolutionized a lot of the ways rally data collection works and a lot of things like that.
Each and every one, so special, so electric, so powerful.
And it never got less. And the first thing I said to him is, we need more security. Because if this is what it's going to look like, and from that point on, the crowds just multiplied from the very first day.
So that historical moment of the first stadium-filled Trump rally happened right here in my home state, and I was honored and blessed to be a part of it.
No one else was going to Alabama at the time, right? So candidates usually go to Iowa, New Hampshire, then they'll go to South Carolina.
I had flown down to North Carolina to go to a rally in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina with him. And one thing led to another, and we got into discussion, and Donald Trump always likes to get opinions from people around him. Anybody that knows him knows that to be true. So he asked me what I thought of the way the state had been run and how I thought we could win, etc. And he sort of sat back and looked at me. And when he does that, I mean, that's when it's on. Then you know the wheels are spinning up there, something's happening. And he looked at me and he goes, "I want you to win North Carolina for me. Could you do that?" And of course I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." Mind you, I had never been involved in politics before. I had no idea how to do it, what to do, even where to start. But it was a big moment. I remember I called my husband about 15 minutes later, and I said, "I don't really know what happened, but I think your dad just put me in charge of winning the state of North Carolina," which, don't forget, Hillary Clinton said was her firewall, that she was without a doubt going to win. That was her state to focus on. Just a small state for me to win. But I have never been able to forget that, because my father-in-law tells everybody that he meets, "Laura won me the state of North Carolina." Now, I don't fully believe that to be true. I think compare and contrast, the two candidates, Donald Trump was obviously something that the people of North Carolina wanted more than Hillary Clinton, but it's very nice. He never lets you forget when you do something like that for him, when you work hard for him. He has never let me forget that.
No one has ever been able to have constantly 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 or more people consistently.
They saw a fighter, and what Donald Trump said was, hey, if I lose, I'm going to go down as the greatest fighter this country's ever seen, but I'm going to do it my way. And he did that, and I think the American people love that about Donald Trump, that he's just a great fighter.
2016 was very fluid. The way I like to describe it is, it was a plane. We were flying, but we were building in there. Some days it didn't have windows, sometimes it didn't have a top. Some days it didn't have wings, some days it didn't have pilots. But the beauty of it was, right towards the end, we put it all together and we put the landing wheels on the right last moment and we landed the plane.
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
In 2020, we did something different. We built our own fleet of planes. And this time all the planes were built and ready to take off before we even started the campaign. And I think that's going to have a dramatic effect, an impact that the Democrats and the country hasn't seen yet about what we can do.
The day Donald Trump came down that escalator was the day he saved my life, really, because that was the day that I swore that I would never go backwards into that world of addiction. And so, had he not run for president, I really don't know where I would be today. And that's kind of hits you. It's very powerful. And I owe him and this family a lot.
So I think that my father-in-law inspires all Americans because he stands up for America. He stands up for the forgotten people of this country.
And obviously when he went down the escalator and he made the speech and the reception that he got was a defining moment.
So here we were, not even fully understanding the process at the time because it was so foreign to us, but making it work, speaking from the heart, and just being true to ourselves. And that's ultimately what won the day in 2016. Despite what everyone was saying, he literally broke every record imaginable, every metric possible, before the scourge of COVID. And that's why he's the guy that can rebuild it again.
And we are going to make our country great again. That is some group of people, thousands. So nice. Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you. It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. And it's an honor to have everybody here. This is beyond anybody's expectations. There's been no crowd like this. And I can tell you, some of the candidates, they went in, they didn't know the air conditioner didn't work. They sweated like dogs. They didn't know the room was too big because they didn't have anybody there. How are they going to beat ISIS? I don't think it's going to happen. Our country is in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. I beat China all the time. All the time. When did we beat Japan at anything? They send their cars over by the millions. And what do? When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't exist, folks. They beat us all the time. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. And now they're beating us economically. They are not our friend, believe me. But they're killing us economically. The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have no protection, and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast. Islamic terrorism is eating up large portions of the Middle East. They become rich. I'm in competition with them. They just built a hotel in Syria. Can you believe this? They built a hotel. When I have to build a hotel, I pay interest. They don't have to pay interest because they took the oil that when we left Iraq, I said we should have taken. So now ISIS has the oil. And what they don't have, Iran has. And in and I will tell you this, and I said it very strongly, years ago, I said, and I love the military, and I want to have the strongest military that we've ever had, and we need it more now than ever, but I said, don't hit Iraq, because you're going to totally destabilize the Middle East. Iran is going to take over the Middle East. Iran and somebody else will get the oil, and it turned out that Iran is now taking over Iraq. Think of it. Iran is taking over Iraq, and they're taking it over big league. We spent $2 trillion in Iraq. $2 trillion. We lost thousands of lives, thousands in Iraq. We have wounded soldiers who I love. I love. They're great. All over the place. Thousands and thousands of wounded soldiers. And we have nothing. We can't even go there. We have nothing. And every time we give Iraq equipment, the first time a bullet goes off in the air, they leave it. Last week I read 2,300 Humvees. These are big vehicles were left behind for the enemy. 2,000, you would say maybe 2, maybe 4. 2,300 sophisticated vehicles they ran, and the enemy took them. You're right. Last quarter, it was just announced, our gross domestic product, a sign of strength, right? But not for us. It was below zero. Who ever heard of this? It's never below zero. Our labor participation rate was the worst since 1978. But think of it, GDP below zero. Horrible labor participation rate. And our real unemployment is anywhere from 18 to 20%. Don't believe the 5.6. Don't believe it. That's right, a lot of people up there can't get jobs. They can't get jobs because there are no jobs. Because China has our jobs and Mexico has our jobs. They all have our jobs. But the real number is anywhere from 18 to 19 and maybe even 21%. And nobody talks about it because it's a statistic that's full of nonsense. Our enemies are getting stronger and stronger by the day, and we as a country are getting weaker. Even our nuclear arsenal doesn't work. It came out recently. They have equipment that's 30 years old. They don't even know if it worked. And I thought it was horrible when it was broadcast on television, because boy, does that send signals to Putin and all of the other people that look at us and they say, that is a group of people and that is a nation that truly has no clue. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. We have a disaster called the big lie, Obamacare. Obamacare. Yesterday it came out that costs are going for people up 29, 39, 49, and even 55%. And deductibles are through the roof. You have to get hit by a tractor, literally a tractor, to use it, because the deductibles are so high, it's virtually useless. It is a disaster. And remember the $5 billion website. $5 billion we spent on a website. And to this day, it doesn't work. A $5 billion website. I have so many websites. I have them all over the place. I hire people. They do a website. It costs me $3. $5 billion website. Well, you need somebody, because politicians are all talk, no action. Nothing's going to get done. They will not bring us, believe me, to the promised land. They will not. As an example, I've been on the circuit making speeches, and I hear my fellow Republicans, and they're wonderful people. I like them. They all want me to support them. They don't know how to bring it about. They come up to my office. I'm meeting with 3 of them in the next week, and they don't know. Are you running? Are you not running? Could we have your support? What do we do? How do we do it? I like them. And I hear their speeches. And they don't talk jobs, and they don't talk China. When was the last time you heard China's killing us? They're devaluing their currency to a level that you wouldn't believe. It makes it impossible for our companies to compete. Impossible. They're killing us. But you don't hear that from anybody else. You don't hear it from anybody else. And I watch the speeches. Thank you. I watch the speeches of these people, and they say, the sun will rise, the moon will set, all sorts of wonderful things will happen. And people are saying, what's going on? I just want a job. Just get me a job. I don't need the rhetoric. I want a job. And that's what's happening. And it's going to get worse, because remember, Obamacare really kicks in 2016. Obama is going to be out playing golf. He might even be on one of my courses. I would invite him. I actually would say. I have the best courses in the world, so I'd say, you know what, if he wants to, I have one right next to the White House, right on the Potomac. If he'd like to play, that's fine. In fact, I'd love him to leave early and play. That would be a very good thing. But Obamacare kicks in 2016. Really big league. It is going to be amazingly destructive. Doctors are quitting. I have a friend who's a doctor, and he said to me the other day, Donald, I never saw anything like it. I have more accountants than I have nurses. It's a disaster. My patients are beside themselves. They had a plan that was good. They have no plan now. We have to repeal Obamacare, and it can be replaced. And it can be replaced with something much better for everybody. Let it be for everybody, but much better and much less expensive for people and for the government. And we can do it. So, I've watched the politicians. I've dealt with them all my life. If you can't make a good deal with a politician, then there's something wrong with you. You're certainly not very good. And that's what we have representing us. They will never make America great again. they don't even have a chance. They're controlled fully. They're controlled fully by the lobbyists, by the donors, and by the special interests. Fully. They control them. Hey, I have lobbyists, I have to tell you. I have lobbyists that can produce anything for me. They're great. But you know what? It won't happen. It won't happen. Because we have to stop doing things for some people, but for this country, it's destroying our country. We have to stop, and it has to stop now. Now, our country needs a truly great leader. And we need a truly great leader now. We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. We need a leader that can bring back our jobs, can bring back our manufacturing, can bring back our military, can take care of our vets. Our vets have been abandoned. And we also need a cheerleader. You know, when President Obama was elected, I said, well, the one thing I think he'll do well, I think for the country. I think he'd be a great spirit. He was vibrant. He was young. I really thought that he would be a great cheerleader. He's not a leader, that's true. You're right about that. But he wasn't a cheerleader. He's actually a negative force. He's been a negative force. He wasn't a cheerleader. He was the opposite. We need somebody that can take the brand of the United States and make it great again. It's not great again. We need somebody. We need somebody that literally will take this country and make it great again. We can do that. And I will tell you, I love my life. I have a wonderful family. They're saying, Dad, you're going to do something that's going to be so tough. You know, all of my life I've heard that a truly successful person, a really, really successful person, and even modestly successful, cannot run for public office. Just can't happen. And yet that's the kind of mindset that you need to make this country great again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. It can happen. Our country has tremendous potential. We have tremendous people. We have people that aren't working. We have people that have no incentive to work. But they're going to have incentive to work. Because the greatest social program is a job. And they'll be proud, and they'll love it, and they'll make much more money than they would have ever made. And they'll be doing so well, and we're going to be thriving as a country. Thriving. It can happen. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. I'll bring back our jobs from China, from Mexico, from Japan, from so many places. I'll bring back our jobs, and I'll bring back our money. Right now, think of this. We owe China $1.3 trillion. We owe Japan more than that. So they come in, they take our jobs, they take our money, and then they loan us back the money, and we pay them in interest. And then the dollar goes up, so their deal's even better. How stupid are our leaders? How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen? How stupid are they? I'm going to tell you, thank you. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about trade, because I'm totally against the trade bill for a number of reasons. Number one, the people negotiating it don't have a clue. Our president doesn't have a clue. He's a bad negotiator. He's the one that did Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, they get 5 killer terrorists that everybody wanted over there. We get Bergdahl, we get a traitor. We get a no-good traitor, and they get the 5 people that they've wanted for years, and those people are now back on the battlefield trying to kill us. That's the negotiator we have. Take a look at the deal he's making with Iran. He makes that deal, Israel maybe won't exist very long. It's a disaster, and we have to protect Israel. But so we need people. I'm a free trader. But the problem with free trade is you need really talented people to negotiate for you. If you don't have talented people, if you don't have great leadership, if you don't have people that know business, not just a political hack that got the job because he made a contribution to a campaign, which is the way all jobs just about are gotten, free trade is terrible. Free trade can be wonderful if you have smart people. But we have people that are stupid. We have people that aren't smart. And we have people that are controlled by special interests. And it's just not going to work. So here's a couple of stories. Happened recently. A friend of mine is a great manufacturer. And you know, China comes over and they dump all their stuff. And I buy it. I buy it. Because frankly, I have an obligation to buy it. Because they devalue their currency so brilliantly. They just did it recently, and nobody thought they could do it again. But with all our problems with Russia, with all our problems with everything, they got away with it again. And it's impossible for our people here to compete. So I want to tell you this story. A friend of mine is a great manufacturer. Calls me up a few weeks ago. He's very upset. I said, what's your problem? He said, you know, I make great product. And I said, I know that because I buy the product. He said, I can't get it into China. They won't accept it. I sent a boat over and they actually sent it back. They talked about environmental. They talked about all sorts of crap that had nothing to do with it. I said, oh, wait a minute, that's terrible. Does anyone know this? He said, yeah, they do it all the time with other people. I said, they send it back? Yeah. So I finally got it over there and they charged me a big tariff. They're not supposed to be doing that. I told them. Now, they do charge a tariff on trucks. When we send trucks and other things over there, ask Boeing. They wanted Boeing secrets. They wanted their patents and all their secrets before they agreed to buy planes from Boeing. Hey, I'm not saying they're stupid. I like China. I sell apartment for I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. Am I supposed to dislike them? I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in 1290 Avenue of the Americas that I got from China in a war. Very valuable. I love China. The biggest bank in the world is from China. You know where their United States headquarters is located? In this building, in Trump Tower. I love China. People say, oh, you don't like China. No, I love them. But their leaders are much smarter than our leaders. And we can't sustain ourselves with that. There's too much. It's like take the New England Patriots and Tom Brady and have them play your high school football team. That's the difference between China's leaders and our leaders. They are ripping us. We are rebuilding China. We're rebuilding many countries. China, you go there now, roads, bridges, schools, you never saw anything like it. They have bridges that make the George Washington Bridge look like small potatoes. And they're all over the place. We have all the cards, but we don't know how to use them. We don't even know that we have the cards because our leaders don't understand the game. We could turn off that spigot by charging them tax until they behave properly. Now they're going militarily. They're building a military island in the middle of the South China Sea, a military island. Now, our country could never do that because we'd have to get environmental clearance. And the environmentalists wouldn't let our country. We would never build an ocean. They built it in about 1 year, this massive military port. They're building up their military to a point that is very scary. You have a problem with ISIS, you have a bigger problem with China. And in my opinion, the new China, believe it or not, in terms of trade, is Mexico. So this man tells me about the manufacturing. I say, that's a terrible story. I hate to hear it. But I have another one, Ford. So Mexico takes a company, car company, that was going to build in Tennessee, rips it out. Everybody thought the deal was dead. Reported in the Wall Street Journal recently. Everybody thought it was a done deal. It's going in, and that's going to be it, going into Tennessee. Great state, great people. All of a sudden, at the last moment, this big car manufacturer, foreign, announces they're not going to Tennessee. They're going to spend their $1 billion in Mexico instead. Not good. Now Ford announces a few weeks ago that Ford is going to build a $2.5 billion car and truck and parts manufacturing plant in Mexico. $2.5 billion. It's going to be one of the largest in the world. Ford, good company. So I announced that I'm running for president. One of the early things I would do, probably before I even got in, and I wouldn't even use, I know the smartest negotiators in the world. I know the good ones, I know the bad ones, I know the overrated ones. You got a lot of them that are overrated. They're not good, they think they are. They get good stories because the newspapers get buffaloed. But they're not good. But I know the best negotiators in the world. And I'd put them one for each country. Believe me, folks, we will do very, very well. Very, very well. But I wouldn't even waste my time with this one. I would call up the head of Ford, who I know, if I was president. I'd say, congratulations. I understand that you're building a nice $2.5 billion car factory in Mexico, and that you're going to take your cars and sell them to the United States, zero tax, just flow them across the border. And you say to yourself, how does that help us, right? How does that help us? Where is that good? It's not. So I'd say, congratulations, that's the good news. Let me give you the bad news. Every car and every truck and every part manufactured in this plant that comes across the border, we're going to charge you a 35% tax. Okay? And that tax is going to be paid simultaneously with the transaction. And that's it. Now, here's what's going to happen. If it's not me in the position, it's one of these politicians that we're running against. You know, the 400 people that we're already against. And here's what's going to happen. They're not so stupid. They know it's not a good thing. And they may even be upset by it. But then they're going to get a call from their donors, or probably from the lobbyist for Ford, and say, you can't do that to Ford because Ford takes care of me and I take care of you, and you can't do that to Ford. And guess what? No problem. They're going to build in Mexico. They're going to take away thousands of jobs. It's very bad for us. So, under President Trump, here's what would happen. The head of Ford will call me back, I would say within an hour after I told him the bad news. But it could be he'd want to be cool, and he'll wait till the next day. You know, they want to be a little cool. And he'll say, please, please, please. He'll beg for a little while, and I'll say, no interest. Then he'll call all sorts of political people, and I'll say, sorry, fellas, no interest, because I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I don't need anybody's money. I'm using my own money. I'm not using the lobbyists. I'm not using donors. I don't care. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. And by the way, I'm not even saying that in a braggadocio. That's the kind of mindset, that's the kind of thinking you need for this country. So, because we got to make the country rich, it sounds crass. Somebody said, oh, that's crass. It's not crass. We got 18 trillion in debt. We got nothing but problems. We got a military that needs equipment all over the place. We got nuclear weapons that are obsolete. We've got nothing. We got Social Security that's going to be destroyed if somebody like me doesn't bring money into the country. All these other people want to cut the hell out of it. I'm not going to cut it at all. I'm going to bring money in, and we're going to save it. But here's what's going to happen. After I'm called by 30 friends of mine who contributed to different campaigns, after I'm called by all of the special interests and by the donors and by the lobbyists, and they have zero chance at convincing me, zero. I'll get a call the next day from the head of Ford. He'll say, please reconsider. I'll say no. He'll say, Mr. President, we've decided to move the plant back to the United States. We're not going to build it in Mexico. That's it. They have no choice. They have no choice. There are hundreds of things like that. I'll give you another example. Saudi Arabia. They make $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day. I love the Saudis. Many are in this building. They make $1 billion a day. Whenever they have problems, we send over the ships. We're going to protect. What are we doing? They got nothing but money. If the right person asked them, they pay a fortune. They wouldn't be there except for us. And believe me, you look at the border with Yemen. You remember Obama a year ago. Yemen was a great victory. 2 weeks later, the place was blown up. Everybody got, and they kept our equipment. They always keep our equipment. We just said used equipment, right? They always keep our equipment. We ought to send some real junk, because frankly, we ought to send our surplus. We're always losing this gorgeous brand new stuff. But look at that border with Saudi Arabia. Do you really think that these people are interested in Yemen? Saudi Arabia, without us, is gone. They're gone. And I'm the one that made all of the right predictions about Iraq. You know, all of these politicians that I'm running against now, it's so nice to say I'm running as opposed to if I run, I'm running. But all of these politicians that I'm running against now, they're trying to disassociate. I mean, you looked at Bush, it took him 5 days to answer the question on Iraq. He couldn't answer the question. He didn't know. I said, is he intelligent? Then I looked at Rubio. He was unable to answer the question. Is Iraq a good thing or a bad thing? He didn't know. He couldn't answer the question. How are these people going to lead us? How are we going to go back and make it great again? We can't. They don't have a clue. They can't lead us. They can't. They can't even answer simple questions. It was terrible. But Saudi Arabia is in big, big trouble. Now, thanks to fracking and other things, the oil is all over the place. And I used to say it. There are ships at sea, and this was during the worst crisis, that were loaded up with oil. And the cartel kept the price up. Because, again, they were smarter than our leaders. They were smarter than our leaders. There is so much wealth out there that can make our country so rich again, and therefore make it great again. Because we need money. We're dying. We're dying. We need money. We have to do it. And we need the right people. So, Ford will come back. They'll all come back. And I will say this. This is going to be an election, in my opinion, that's based on competence. Somebody said, thank you, darling. Somebody said to me the other day, a reporter, very nice reporter, but Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person. We don't need nice. That's true, but actually I am. I think I am a nice person. People that know me like me. Does my family like me? I think so, right? Look at my family. I'm proud of my family. By the way, speaking of my family, Melania, Barron, Kai, Donnie, Don, Vanessa, Tiffany, Ivanka did a great job. Did she do a great job? Great. Jared, Laura, and Eric. I'm very proud of my family. They're a great family. So the reporter said to me the other day, but Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person. how can you get people to vote for you? I said, I don't know. I said, I think that, number one, I am a nice person. I give a lot of money away to charities and other things. I think I'm actually a very nice person. But I said, this is going to be an election that's based on competence. Because people are tired of these nice people, and they're tired of being ripped off by everybody in the world, and they're tired of spending more money on education than any nation in the world per capita, than any nation in the world. And we're 26th in the world. 25 countries are better than us at education. And some of them are like third world countries. But we're becoming a third world country because of our infrastructure, our airports, our roads, everything. So one of the things I did, and I said, you know what I'll do? I'll do it. Because a lot of people said, he'll never run. Number one, he won't want to give up his lifestyle. They're right about that, but I'm doing it. Number two, I'm a private company, so nobody knows what I'm worth. And the one thing is that when you run, you have to announce and certify to all sorts of governmental authorities your net worth. So I said, that's okay. I'm proud of my net worth. I've done an amazing job. I started off, thank you. I started off in a small office with my father in Brooklyn and Queens. And my father said, and I love my father, I learned so much. He was a great negotiator. I learned so much just sitting at his feet, playing with blocks, listening to him negotiate with subcontractors. But I learned a lot. But he used to say, Donald, don't go into Manhattan. That's the big leagues. We don't know anything about that. Don't do it. I said, Dad, I got to go into Manhattan. I got to build those big buildings. I got to do it, Dad. I've got to do it. And after 4 or 5 years in Brooklyn, I ventured into Manhattan and did a lot of great deals. The Grand Hyatt Hotel. I was responsible for the convention center on the west side. I did a lot of great deals, and I did them early and young. And now I'm building all over the world, and I love what I'm doing. But they all said, a lot of the pundits on television, well, Donald will never run. And one of the main reasons is he's private, and he's probably not as successful as everybody thinks. So I said to myself, you know, nobody's ever going to know unless I run. Because I'm really proud of my success. I really am. I've employed tens of thousands of people over my lifetime. That means medical, that means education, that means everything. So a large accounting firm and my accountants have been working for months because it's big and complex, and they've put together a statement, a financial statement. This is a summary, but everything will be filed eventually with the government, and we don't need extensions or anything. We'll be filing it right on time. We don't need anything. And it was even reported incorrectly yesterday because they said he had assets of $9 billion. So I said, no, that's the wrong number. That's the wrong number, not assets. So they put together this, and before I say it, I have to say this. I made it the old-fashioned way. It's real estate. You know, it's real estate. It's labor, and it's unions good and some bad, and lots of people that aren't in unions, and it's all over the place, and building all over the world. And I have assets, big accounting firm, one of the most highly respected, $9,240 million. And I have liabilities of about 500. That's long-term debt, very low interest rates. In fact, one of the big banks came to me and said, Donald, you don't have enough borrowings. Could we loan you $4 billion? I said, I don't need it. I don't want it. And I've been there. I don't want it. But in 2 seconds, they give me whatever I wanted. So I have a total net worth, and now with the increase, it'll be well over $10 billion. But here, a total net worth of $8 billion, net worth, not assets, not liability, a net worth after all debt, after all expenses, the greatest assets, Trump Tower, 1290 Avenue of the Americas, Bank of America building in San Francisco, 40 Wall Street, sometimes referred to as the Trump building, right opposite the New York City. Many other places all over the world. So the total is $8,737,540,000. Now, I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to, believe it or not. I'm doing that to say that that's the kind of thinking our country needs. We need that thinking. We have the opposite thinking. We have losers. We have losers. We have people that don't have it. We have people that are morally corrupt. We have people that are selling this country down the drain. So I put together the statement, and the only reason I'm telling you about it today is because we really do have to get going. Because if we have another 3 or 4 years, you know, we're at 18 trillion now. We're soon going to be at 20 trillion. According to the economists, who I'm not big believers in, but nevertheless, this is what they're saying, that 24 trillion, we're very close. That's the point of no return. $24 trillion. We will be there soon. That's when we become Greece. That's when we become a country that's unsalvageable. And we're going to be there very soon. We're going to be there very soon.
Make America strong!
So, just to sum up, I would do various things very quickly. I would repeal and replace the big lie Obamacare. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump. Nobody. I will find within our military, I will find the General Patton, or I will find General MacArthur. I will find the right guy. I will find the guy that's going to take that military and make it really work. Nobody will be pushing us around. I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and we won't be using a man like Secretary Kerry that has absolutely no concept of negotiation, who's making a horrible and laughable deal, who's just being tapped along as they make weapons right now, and then goes into a bicycle race at 72 years old and falls and breaks his leg. I won't be doing that. And I promise I will never be in a bicycle race, that I can tell you. I will immediately terminate President Obama's illegal executive order on immigration. Immediately. Fully support and back up the Second Amendment. Now, it's very interesting. Today I heard it. Through stupidity, in a very, very hardcore prison, interestingly named Clinton, two vicious murderers, two vicious people escaped, and nobody knows where they are. And a woman was on television this morning, and she said, you know, Mr. Trump, and she was telling other people, and I actually called her, but she said, you know, Mr. Trump, I always was against guns. I didn't want guns. And now, since this happened, it's up in the prison area. My husband and I are finally in agreement because he wanted the guns. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting. I said, very interesting. So protect the Second Amendment. End Common Core. Common Core it is a disaster. Bush is totally in favor of Common Core. I don't see how he can possibly get the nomination. He's weak on immigration. He's in favor of Common Core. How the hell can you vote for this guy? You just can't do it. We have to end. Education has to be local. rebuild the country's infrastructure. Nobody can do that like me, believe me. It will be done on time, on budget, way below cost, way below what anyone ever thought. I look at these roads being built all over the country, and I say, I can build those things for 1/3. What they do is unbelievable. How bad? You know, we're building on Pennsylvania Avenue, the old post office. We're converting it into one of the world's great hotels. It's going to be the best hotel in Washington, D.C. We got it from the General Services Administration in Washington. The Obama administration. We got it. It was the most highly sought after, or one of them, but I think the most highly sought after project in the history of General Services. We got it. People were shocked. Trump got it. Well, I got it for two reasons. Number one, we're really good. Number two, we had a really good plan. And I'll add in a third, we had a great financial statement. Because the General Services, who are terrific people, by the way, and talented people, they wanted to do a great job. And they want to make sure it got built. So we have to rebuild our infrastructure, our bridges, our roadways, our airports. You come into LaGuardia Airport, it's like we're in a third world country. You look at the patches and the 40-year-old floor, they throw down asphalt and you look at these airports, we are like a third world country. And I come in from China and I come in from Qatar and I come in from different places. And they have the most incredible airports in the world. You come back to this country and you have LAX, disaster. You have all of these disastrous airports. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it. Get rid of the fraud, get rid of the waste and abuse, but save it. People have been paying in for years, and now many of these candidates want to cut it. You save it by making the United States, by making us rich again, by taking back all of the money that's being lost. Negotiate our foreign trade deals. Reduce our $18 trillion in debt, because believe me, we're in a bubble. We have artificially low interest rates. We have a stock market that frankly has been good to me, but I still hate to see what's happening. We have a stock market that is so bloated. Be careful of a bubble, because what you've seen in the past might be small potatoes, so be very, very careful. And strengthen our military and take care of our vets. So, so important. Sadly, the American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.